Thanks. Okay, so thanks to all. Thanks for also for the invitation in this case for the workshop, and nice also to hear about the other project, also to understand each other how what we are envisioning. So my name is Antonio Skarmeta. I'm a full professor at the University of Murcia in Spain, and I'm the project coordinator of Rigorous. That, as you can see here, refers to the secure design and deployment of trustworthy continuous computing 6G services. Our project, as the rest, is in the stream B04 in the sense. As you can see here, we have 11 partners coming from 8 countries, also covering industry, academia, and SMEs. So that we can cover a little bit the whole, I was at cycle related to the design and development of services on future networks. The main here you can see basically the vision, no, basically that we have in Rigorous. Rigorous is trying to focus on how to instantiate the DevSec operation over future networks, starting from the provision of tools for the end users or developers in that sense, in order to specify what are the security and privacy requirements that their application or their service need to be taken into account, and starting from this, how these policies can be instantiated and over different segments of the network, and after that, how to monitor and analysis how this deployment has been carried out, and based on this, being able to dynamically provide certain kind of reactions and mitigation in case the situation is not working as expected, or in case new kind of attacks or threats appear on the deployment scenario. So in that sense, as several of you also, one of the main point here is also how to introduce the use of the machine learnings in order to learn from the information that we are collecting about the behavior of the application and the services, and based on this, being able to adapt specifically on and react, basically, I would say, to new situations that were not expected on the initial consideration. So at the end, what Rigorous is looking for is to create a smart framework in general that facilitate, in some sense, the design secure, trustable, and privacy aware of the solution, of future solution for the continuum, so that they can be integrated and deployment in a full continuum. So in the same, that's why we consider the different domains or segments that you can see on this picture, so that we can verify first on the onboarding of the service and application over these different segments, that the security and privacy conditions that are required are being fulfilled. But secondly, during the lifetime of the service, during the operational phase, we can also monitor and as I already said, react in case new situations appear in that sense. For doing that, basically, we have defined a collection of objectives and a collection of innovation areas that we want to cover. One of them is obviously to constitute and to build this service framework, this security service framework that is able to be instantiated and managed over the continuum IoT, edge, and cloud. For that, we, as already was mentioned, we will heavily rely on the use of zero-touch cognitive sort mechanism. For example, we will integrate the AI-based mechanism to monitor and to adapt basically the life cycle of the security of the service, and obviously we will use different solutions like federated AI mechanism in order to identify possible misbehavior that are going to happen, could happen on different parts of the network, and based on this, trying to create and define new mitigation actions that can be deployed in order to react to them. The second aspect, as already mentioned, was about this human-centric approach to the DevSecOps. So basically, the main idea is to facilitate at the end the end users and the developers, in that sense, tools, so that they can specify their intents in that sense based on how or what they expect from the security and privacy aspect of the behavior of their service or their application, so that they can be taken into account during the onboarding of this service on the, as I already said, on the infrastructures. In that sense, for that we will define security policies, mechanisms for the onboarding and the enforcement of this onboarding, so that they can be considered during the life cycle of the services. And finally, we will take into account also zero trust mechanisms that will help us also to manage privacy preserving aspect on the information and components that need to be deployed on this infrastructure. Another objective is linked to what obviously how to integrate AI-based solution on the whole, I would say, loop that I already mentioned. So it's not only to identify mitigation, but also to learn about the impact of the mitigation action over the previous actuations, and based on this, increase or modify further actions that we will have in order to manage similar or related situations. So the idea is to integrate, as already said, during the orchestration, the trust, and the deployment mechanism, all this the possibility, and also this taking into account on the aspect of also managing the end-to-end slicing that can be instantiated in order to cover the different segments. As I already said, also we will one aspect that we are also integrating is how to not only integrate the information that we are able to generate as a consequence of the monitoring, but also how to be fit by other, I was at inputs, for example, through the use of cyber threat intelligence mechanisms that will, in some case, provide additional information about threats, and based on this, how to instantiate them and make the adaptation of this new information to the actual security policy being deployed in the infrastructure. In that sense, so basically, at the end is to integrate not only internal but also external feedback about new threats and new security issues that can be raised. And finally, we want to demonstrate, obviously, all the scenario on some relevant use cases. In that sense, for that, we already have specified 4 use cases. One of them is how to react from the infrastructure perspective against new cyber threats. Then we have another about a digital city twinning platform. Another one about PPDR, another one about management of security and utility services. In that sense. Okay, so here you can see a list of a little bit of a summary of many of the things I already mentioned, the innovation. So as I already said, important aspect here is about how to support this, for example, the sharing of the information with external entities based on privacy preserving mechanisms in order to also facilitate increase the communication, but also preserving what the information we want to provide. As I already said, how to connect the intent-based policy definition to the onboarding specification, how to provide bootstrapping, and how to connect basically as part of this onboarding process aspect like the IoT bootstrapping based on the security specifications that can become from a certification process and so on. So this is a little bit a list of all the different areas. How all of this is going to be integrated in some sense. So here you can see a little like a high-level functional architecture. The colors also map a little bit with the different work packages that we already have. Where we, as you can see here, there's a high-level one that is mostly on the definition of the mechanism, no? That will facilitate the process of the onboarding, the identification of the policy, the provision of mechanisms to the human to the end user in order to manage basically not only has specification but also some of the requirement regarding about the privacy. Then you can see another part that is the one that is managing the AI driven orchestration and decision making that is going to be in charge of based on the previous experience, based on the information being provided by the end user, try to identify how to map this intent to a collection of policies that will be applied over the different segments in that sense, in order to provide from the end-to-end slicing up to the different controllers over the different planes that we will be able to manage. And obviously, apart from it, we will have the monitoring and analysis that will be continuously checking, understanding what is happening, sharing information if necessary with external entity, or receiving information from external entity, so that they can adapt and modify the behavior of the orchestration process on runtime. In that sense, at the end, as you can see here, the idea is to maintain the complete loop from the design up to the operational and the feedback being produced. And as some of you also are already providing, one of the ideas also is, in order to improve the reactions and the mitigation that we will be able to produce in the future, try to, from the data collected, from the results of from the mitigation actions that we already have provided, try to use solutions like based on digital twin that allow us to evaluate alternatives possibilities in the process of reaction that we can have, so that we can analyze and have prospectum of different alternatives plans that we can have in the future, so that when we can verify that they work, can be incorporated to the orchestration plane that we specify here. This, in some sense, just to give you some more concrete examples there, as here is the approach already mentioned regarding the policy-based driven security orchestration, where we come from the end user, as already said, where decide how is his policy, where he define his intent regarding privacy and security, up to the process of translating these policies in a collection of different instance, depending on the segment that we are covering it in that sense. And then in each of them, this policy needs to be translated to a specific mapping, depending on the devices, the component, the infrastructure element that need to be taken into account, so that at the end we are able to propose a concrete enforcement of these policies that are implementing, in that sense, the vision or the intent being provided by the user in that sense. At the end, as already said, in all this process, the main idea is that a continuous adaptation that will be carried out based on the use of this AI-based solution, so that we can improve over the time based on the impact of our decision in the future modifications and actions that are need to be carried out. If you go a little bit in detail to one of them, at the end we will say, okay, this security orchestrator, at the end will interact with the different component, the NFB, SDN, IoT controller, or any other elements in that sense that is able to be configured and to be adapted on their behavior based on the translation of the policies based on this approach. At the end, what we are looking is a zero-touch approach in some sense, in the sense that make a decision as much automatic as possible and dynamic on the behavior of the system, in that sense. And another examples regarding the end-to-end multi-domain slicing approach based on the previous work being carried out by some of the partners. Here we want to integrate, as already said, through the management plane and the orchestration and the policy, how this at the end will be instantiated over a collection of different slides that will be concatenated in the different segments. Just to give you an example of the use case, here you can say this is a use case that we will have about the infrastructure and the management of a concrete 6G infrastructure, and where we want to. This is coming from the Orange in Romania, where basically the main idea is that to instantiate our deployment in order to operate and manage the functionality of this testbed, and being able to do all the elements regarding the identification of new attacks, react to them, and provide mitigation action in runtime, in that sense. Finally, just to mention that we already have envisioned, and the good thing is that we have several partners already involved in several standardization activities, starting from Orange, but also we have Lenovo, also we have other partners already involved. And then the idea that we already have identified several areas of standardizations where we would like to contribute, as you can see here, from distributed layer aspect to purely on the impact of the AI or machine learning in 5G networks, and obviously, for example, in the area of security, in the IoT, and as I already mentioned, the bootstrapping procedure regarding the integration of the new devices and so on, so that hopefully we will have potential relevant contribution in different standardization bodies. And just to conclude, as I already said, we will investigate in the collection of innovative areas like end-user intent-based security, zero trust, smart security management, end-to-end multi-domain, multi-tenant slicing, driving security, responsive mitigation, and obviously federated cross-domain analytics that help us in order to generate this intelligence on the decision-making. And everything will be validated over this use case and several test beds that we are part of our scenario. And that's all from my side. Thanks. And obviously, you can follow us on our website.